Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the Wrestling Skull podcast. I'm your host, John Scott, and tonight I've got a feeling I may be hosting solo because unfortunately my co-host, who's normally here every week without fail, Matt Essex, he's been away this weekend. He's currently in Spain, and he's had some major internet issues where he is at the moment. So I thought, without further ado, I'll just go live, and hopefully Matt may find a way of getting the internet issue fixed. But if not, I'll do my very best going solo into this one and giving you guys the rundown of what we got last night at WrestleMania, which I've got to say I'm absolutely exhausted from the whole thing last night. It was just such a long show. When you add everything up together with the pre-show and WrestleMania, it was just extremely long. I can't imagine what it's like sitting there in Florida's heat, getting in there just before the pre-show, sitting there for that whole time, going through the entire show. It must just be exhausting by the end of it. But especially if you're in the UK like us, we're literally starting at 10 p.m. pre-show time, and I think it finished about 5:30 in the morning here. So yeah, it was a very, very long, lengthy show. But I did come out of it feeling, and I'll give you guys a heads up already. I was quite pleasantly surprised at how good I enjoyed the show as a wrestling fan, which was good, and it was nice and it was refreshing, because I felt like I think after last year's WrestleMania I really didn't enjoy that much, and I felt like the Rumble this year was almost setting us on a path of the same kind of thing. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. So yeah, the whole WrestleMania weekend, obviously we kicked off Friday with the Hall of Fame, and I really enjoyed some of the speeches from the inductees, such as Kurt Angle, and it was great to see Jim Cornette there, who inducted the Rock and Roll Express. That was awesome, and good to see him back there. There's nobody who can. I mean, Paul Heyman is definitely there, but I think Jim Cornette would give him a run for his money. If you gave them two to stick, and you see who could win in a battle there. I'd love to see that on Raw sometime. WWE have got to do that. Of course, DDP was a really entertaining. I loved Kurt Angle's Sexy Kurt tune again. That was excellent. And then of course we went to NXT Takeover, and I'm not really going to go into Takeover too much on this podcast. I think we'll probably talk about it next week. I think with Matt, because I think we can go into it more. We might have an NXT special anyway. So, but overall, my thoughts to that show was, because I know coming out of it, a lot of people were a little bit doom and gloom about it, but I felt it was my thinking, the way I read it, was that I felt like WWE kind of went out of their way to sort of tell their audience that, make no mistake, NXT is the B show and WWE is the A show. And I think after last year, obviously it was easy to say that NXT Takeover last year was a better all-round wrestling show than WrestleMania, which is staggering when you think about it like that. But I think WWE didn't even want it to be a case of you follow this the next night, follow that kind of mentality. I think that they pretty much shut that down, and although it was a good show, I felt like they could have done more if they wanted to. They could have made it a little bit more grander, but I wasn't too beat up about it like a lot of other people. I thought it was good. But yeah, let's move on to WrestleMania, because there's so much to talk about, and I feel like I need to get there. Before we get straight into WrestleMania, the pre-show side of it, just want to give a little thumbs up here, because obviously with our little, always like hearing this music as well. Does get me upbeat. I want to give let everybody know we was running a competition on Friday from our new sponsor WrestleCrate UK, and we asked the question, and we got a great number of entries into this, and so the winner is Brett Ward, and been in touch with Brett this afternoon, and he has got a free 6 months with WrestleCrate, courtesy of the Wrestling Skull podcast. So well done there. And of course, for everybody else that wants to find out more about WrestleCrate, just go to wrestlecrate.co.uk. It's a great service. It's kind of one of those things where you can treat yourself every month, because like it's pretty much like a surprise box. There's two types. There's the standard and there's the ultimate. Both I think are really, really affordable. The standard especially at $11.99. The ultimate WrestleCrate subscription is at £21.99, which again I think is a very is a decent price, good value for what you get. And I mean they just literally give you all kinds of goodies, not just WWE but all over the place. Some really good stuff that goes into it. Sometimes you'll find you'll get things that are actually worth more than what you pay a crate service for a month. So that's how good that is, folks. So check that out, wrestlecrate.co.uk. And don't forget, if you want to get in touch with our show, it's the Wrestling Skull Podcast at gmail.com. So yes, folks, just in case you're tuning in now and you're only hearing my voice and not Matt's, and you're missing him already, he's currently away in Spain, and he's had some major internet problems. But listen, if he gets it sorted, fantastic. If he doesn't, the show must go on, as they say, and I'll do my very best solo to get through this, and hopefully not make it too daunting for everybody listening to the show without Matt's voice. But we start off with the pre-show, and I think that a lot of people were surprised about having the WWE Cruiserweight Championship match like first on. For me, personally, the thing is with the pre-show matches, especially at WrestleMania, it's like a 2-hour pre-show, and it was probably about 45 minutes in, I think, this when they put this out. So you've got people, like, you've got the crowd coming in like by the thousands still, like trying to find their seat, talking, and like just kind of settling in. None of the lights are switched on at the entrance and stuff like that. So it's kind of one of those things that like takes you out of the moment a bit. And the first thing I really noticed is how strong the wind was coming through the stadium, and I'm slightly concerned about the audio at first, but I think it was a good chance for them to certainly fix it in that time. But the match itself, the WWE Cruiserweight Championship, first of all, with that foul, as consistent as you like, the purple tape came out on the ropes, and everything had to be made purple. I found that very amusing. That even at WrestleMania, they still go to these lengths. Perhaps that's why it was actually first on, because of the whole purple rope business. That's all I can kind of gauge into it anyway. But yeah, Neville and Austin Aries, I felt this was an excellent match. I mean, there was some some of the moves Neville was doing. I mean, that some of the stuff was brutal. I mean, I felt he'd done like a really, really good job at making himself, the number one guy, as he's been claiming that he is. And this was on paper like a match that I would have preferred to have seen on the main show, but it got bumped off for whatever reason. But I felt by having it here that at least perhaps they had like maybe that little bit more, maybe that little bit more time to have have their create their craft as we say, in the ring. The one thing I do want to say about this is that I mean, Austin Aries, I felt like come all the way through this has come across like a big star, and I know quite a lot of people were thinking that maybe Austin Aries should actually go over, but my thinking was, I mean, if I was booking it, I would have just kept it with Neville as well, because I think like there's a lot more with that going forward, by having Austin Aries chase for a little while. Because that cruiserweight title, it does need to be more established, and I think it's, rather than being sort of passed around, I think that it was good to see. It was kind of good to see that a champion hold it for a little while. And I think since Neville's come back, I think like everyone keeps saying like, why is Neville so good? I don't think it's like, why is he so much better than he was than before? I don't think it's anything to do with the fact that he's in the cruiserweight division at all, because I think this guy could do what he's doing in the main roster. I just think it's the fact that he's a heel, and I think it's just made him. I think he's like able to express, a lot of probably bent up sort of anger that he's had with the sort of company, and he's run so far since he's gone on to that main show. So yeah, both these guys had a really good match. I was really impressed with it, nonetheless, and I was hoping this was going to be on the main show, but at least they got like a decent time in, and I felt like Neville come across really vicious towards the end. Like that's how I wanted to see it. Really, overall, I felt like it was, much better for me. So yeah, overall, great show. Obviously, Neville retaining his title, which I was fine with. Next up, we had Dean Ambrose and Baron Corbin, and again, people were like surprised that this match was on the pre-show. The only thing I can think of is that in the week leading up to WrestleMania, WWE.com, they had like a poll where it said like, it was saying something along the lines of, what match are you most looking forward to? And I think Dean Ambrose and Baron Corbin was like the least one that people were like clicking on. So I think it was a no-brainer really for WWE to go, maybe we'll bump that off the show rather than, the heat that we're getting for this SmackDown Women's title match. Like it was going to be an easy pick then to just have their one go on onto the pre-show. So it was the Intercontinental Championship, and I know that like people were saying, now it should have been on the main card as well. But this looked like both of them were really kind of peed off that they were on the pre-show, and they just kind of went through the motions a little bit. I kind of gauged early on that we were not going to get the new Intercontinental Champion like I think we all thought we were, because just the way they were both, kind of their body language was when they came out to this thing, it just wasn't, you just didn't really see it. I mean, overall, not a great match. Before I score this match, I should go back and say that my cruiserweight score, I give that a 3.5, which is quite a high score for a pre-show match. I don't normally do pre-show scores, but I'm going to do it because it's WrestleMania this year. So, but this Intercontinental Championship just went for about 10 minutes, 55 seconds. Nothing too glamorous about it. I mean, it wasn't that good at all. I give this I actually drop it down to a 2 stars. This one didn't